Welcome back to The Long Game. This is where I document everything from trading, discipline, and all the way up to learning in public. Today's lesson will be confidence versus ego. So let's dive into it. Confidence and ego. I bet you guys have heard the term ego a lot. And for this, I would like to also talk about ego from the human's perspective, because there's a lot that comes with this. Ego in itself, I feel, has been quite stigmatized as being bad. But let's talk about ego for a little bit before we dive into the difference, because ego is actually a good thing. Ego allows you to feel safe or be heard, or make sure that you get angry because something does affect you, does feel important to you, and the boundary is being moved over. When we look at coping mechanisms, for instance, you see that ego is created because of the coping mechanisms that we create when we are children. So ego is something that protects us. So ego is actually good. The thing is, the moment you start growing up and the environment you were raised in, being the place where you created these coping mechanisms, it becomes obsolete. It becomes unnecessary. So the environment you were raised in is maybe a place where you didn't feel safe, or you had to speak up for yourself all the time in order to be heard. And based on these coping mechanisms, you will develop a certain character that you will take on in your adult life. And what happens is that in your adult life, when you're being removed from the childhood environment, you're going to meet different people, and you're going to go out in the world and you will be met with a completely different reality than the one you were raised in. So the coping mechanisms that you created, they don't make sense anymore, and you will react a certain way to people that have completely different ways of being because of their perspectives that they have. So it's not going to work anymore. So you're going to be dealing with a personality that doesn't match what you would like to do. You only have that personality to begin with in order to survive in the situation that you were in. So the ego isn't necessarily bad. It's just that when we try to apply it in the market, so for instance when we're day trading, or when we're swing trading or scalping, whatever, it doesn't serve its purpose anymore. Of course, you can still train it and have it with you and see when your boundaries are not being respected, that your ego can help you to at least notify the person. I would recommend to do it always in a state of a more centered self. But it's there to help you and to be there with you, not be against you. So when you start noticing that the ego is working against you, it perhaps it's time to take a look at what it is. So, the video, confidence versus ego. Here I would have to also look back at my journey that I had myself. For instance, when I started in crypto, I was such a moon boy. Everything was 10x here, 10x there, 50x potential here. This could be 100x in 2 years' time. I was saying it so many times that my wife was literally asking me to stop doing it because it was getting very cringy, which is pretty funny because when you are in the space, especially during that alt season in, what was it, like end of 2020, 2021, that era, it was everyone was such a moon boy or a moon girl, because everything was going up. There was a genuine chance on it mooning. So it was very funny to have that mirror of her reflecting that back to me, that it was way too much. And throughout all that time, I went on such a journey myself as well, going inwards, doing breath work, meditating a lot. There were lots of instruments in order to calm down my need to also be external and be way more internal. And with that, confidence grew and ego shrunk. So I have been through quite some, but I still notice the ego sometimes pops up when that overconfidence plays up. And it's basically what I also noticed is that you can see a lot of it with hindsight. Especially at the beginning, what I noticed is that I was doing things and I was feeling confident. And then at hindsight, when I was taking a trade or I invested in something and I reflected back on it and I would journal on it, I noticed that I was like, oh wow, actually this is not confidence at all. This is being a moon boy again, or being someone who followed an influencer because they were talking and yeah, they had valid arguments, but they also don't know anything. Because in the end, it's the market does what the market does, and trying to understand it will make you go insane. So don't do it. Instead, like I mentioned, it was just a story of actually my ego leading me. And this was a pretty interesting observation, because this allowed me to also question myself in a safe manner, where I could figure out, okay, but if this was my ego because of this and that, or I want it to be right, this was also a big one, wanting it to be the case, and therefore ignoring the very subtle signals that I was getting from other things. For instance, when you're doing your, this was something as well that I advised people getting into crypto projects to really do your research. And you see these red flags, you see these tiny things where you're like, okay, this is not that great. Not a doxed team, for instance. Doxing is when you make yourself be known to the public, so people know who you are, where you are, etc. So that you're verified, basically. Basically like a public KYC, know your customer, which you need to do for platforms in order to know that they know that you're not a money launderer, and whatever reasons they have for it. And then with these red flags, I was like, yeah, okay, but it also has the potential to this and this because of the technology that they say that they are gonna create, or they are in beta testing, so it's legit enough, when it's actually the ego that just wants to be right because it wants to make money. It has nothing to do with confidence. If it was confidence, it is such a, I would even say, stillness inside of you. The thing where you innately know that you are right. It's maybe not even being right, but feeling like almost a gut feeling like this is correct. Confidence comes from not being loud, and instead, because you know and it feels right, you don't have to overcompensate with loudness or trying to come up with solid arguments why it is good, because your confidence is that it's good, if that makes sense. So for me, it was such a journey to go from one to another. And if I would have to give advice on how do I notice when I'm still acting out of old survival mechanisms, the coping mechanisms that were there to help me, but am I maybe still applying some of these things in my trading? What worked for me, again, look back at it. Hindsight is a very powerful tool. You shouldn't live in your past. This is yet again another very important side note, because the past is the past and there's nothing you can do about it. There was a funny or nice quote about this, but I can't think of it at the top of my head, so maybe I'll leave it somewhere. But the past is the past, and you only have the present. The past is also for people with depression, and the future is for people with anxiety. And where we need to focus on is the present, because it's the only moment we have. So with hindsight, it allows us to look back at the past and reflect on why we moved the way we moved. For instance, in the present, you can be overwhelmed with a lot of emotions. Things need to happen quickly when you're scalping as well. Maybe you're following a plan. Things happen quickly. There's like all of a sudden a very big jump in the market where you want to react on because it was reacting off of a fair value gap or whatever. There ain't that much time to, in the moment, also be thinking about, okay, so am I now acting out of ego? That's asking quite a lot of yourself, especially when you're still at the beginner phase of understanding what you are moving on. So instead, use hindsight. Okay, I took a trade. Try to trade with a very small lot size or very low risk management, like use 0.12% or 0.25% per trade. And look back, okay, how did I react to this trade? Was it being overconfident? Was it maybe not being overconfident? Basically, if you're focusing on the execution quality, you could say it's confidence. If you're acting on wanting to be right, you're acting out of ego. Try to use this to figure out what you're doing. And what you could do also is perhaps even use something like AI, like ChatGPT, to help you establish these things. Okay, I was feeling this and this and this. I reacted off of this because of this, and it made me feel a certain way. Communicate with him about it. A study has been done that showed that ChatGPT actually had a better rate of being a psychologist than a therapist itself, because it's completely unbiased. This doesn't mean you should quit your therapy, because I see a lot of benefit in going to a therapist. Done it as well myself for a very, very, very long time, since childhood. So I know the benefits from it, but in the end, you're the one doing the work. Again, another side note. ChatGPT can help you mirror a little bit in your behavior, and then you have something that you can look for when you're doing it again. And the beautiful thing is, I do know how to say it in Dutch, but I don't know really how to say it in English. You have the part when you are unaware and you are unable to do something. And then once you start becoming aware, it's the next plateau. So you are still both on the bottom, unaware, unable. Then you become aware, but you're still unable. Then you are aware and you become able. And then you become unaware again of being able. And that's the latest step. And with this step, you reprogrammed your brain to handle the way you would like to handle, the new way to handle or to act upon. And this is how you can learn yourself a new skill. With this ladder, you can see a bit where you are. And the first task will be to become aware of it. And once you become aware of it, so first you have hindsight to figure out, oh, actually I was acting this way, or I was feeling this way, instead of feeling this way. From there on out, you start recognizing it more and more. And from recognizing it you start acting upon it in the moment. And when you start doing that, you're already becoming able. Once you're becoming able, you will do it so many times that at some point it will be automatic. And the point of being automatic, this is the golden zone where you will be able to have mastered it, and you will not be handling or trading off of that certain thing. And you can do this with literally everything. So that's maybe a beautiful thing for you to try next time you're taking trades. I don't want to make this video too long, so I guess with the confidence versus ego, let's see if I can add still another thing to it. Nah, this is more than enough for now. You already got your homework. So for now, thank you again for watching. If this was useful for you, feel free to subscribe. I'm documenting everything as I go. And we'll see you in the next one.